What if the food you ate could decide the fate of empires? Alexander III of Macedon, better known as Alexander the Great, rode to victory from Greece to India, conquering more territory than any man before him by the age of 32. Yet behind every bold strategy, every storming of fortress walls, lay a constant need: fuel for a restless man and his legions. Tonight, we'll feast our ears on the menus that sustained Alexander's campaigns. From the humble barley cakes baked by his soldiers at dawn to lavish Persian banquets beneath tented pavilions. Strap on your sword belt and sharpen your appetite. It's time to dine like a king of kings. Alexander was born in 356 BC in Pella, the capital of Macedon, a land of rolling plains, olive groves, and fertile valleys. His father, King Philip II, ensured young Alexander received the best education, including lessons from Aristotle. But, in those early years, what filled his belly? In rural Macedon, the staple was barley, coarse, hearty barley porridge called maza, sometimes mixed with goat's milk or honey. Bread was flat and dense, made from barley or wheat when available. Alongside, families kept flocks of sheep and goats, so fresh cheese and yogurt were daily treats, often flavored with wild thyme or mint. Olives and olive oil dripped from every dish, used to roast spiced meats, or dress simple salads of crushed cucumber, wild greens, and pomegranate seeds. Wine, soured yet sweet, flowed from terracotta jugs during family meals. By age 13, Alexander joined his first battle, but even then, his diet remained rooted in Macedonian simplicity: a handful of olives, a chunk of cheese, a mug of wine. Little did he know these humble foods would soon become the versus rations of an army on the march. As Alexander prepared to launch his grand campaign against Persia in 334 BC, he inherited an army trained by Philip and seasoned in rugged mountain warfare. Their daily bread could not be the same as palace feasts. Each soldier carried a satchel of maza cakes. Firmer than bread, they were easy to bake over campfires and resisted mold. They carried dried figs and dates to sweeten the porridge, plus salt-cured pork or goat jerky for protein. In their packs, a small amphora of wine to sterilize water or boost morale. Breakfast at dawn: a scoop of coarse barley, boiled in leather stomachs or kinodesma, the earliest travel pot. Men added bits of cured meat or foraged herbs, oregano, wild fennel, juniper berries, to mask fatigue and boost digestion. Midday, they paused under a lone oak or by a river, spreading maza cakes on shields or greased hide, tearing them by hand, dipping them into thick goat's yogurt. Officers might share a fresh cheese wheel rolled in peppercorns, occasionally revealing the general's personal supply, a jar of honey from Thracian bees. Supper time could be a luxury: fresh game if the scouts brought back deer or wild boar, fish if they camped by a lake, or foraged almonds and pine nuts. Every bite mattered. One weak link could cost lives in the heat of battle. By 330 BC, Alexander's phalanx had stormed the gates of Babylon. Now he stood amid the ruins of Cyrus the Great's empire, where Persian cuisine reigned supreme. Exotic fruits, spiced breads, and sweetmeats beckoned. Alexander was nothing if not adaptable. He adopted Persian customs to bind his newly conquered peoples, marrying Roxana at Bactria and hosting lavish feasts in Susa. At these banquets, bara, flatbreads flavored with saffron and rosewater, arrived piping hot from clay ovens. Platters of kebabs, skewered lamb marinated in yogurt, garlic, and coriander, sizzled on portable grills. He sampled kusa, stuffed courgettes with rice and minced meat, and pilaf, a fragrant rice dish laden with pistachios and dried cherries. Wine flowed freely, mixed with honeyed water in elegant glassware. Long tables groaned under the weight of melon, pomegranate, and trays of flaky baklava, layered with nuts and sweetened with date syrup. These feasts served a political purpose, showing the empire that Alexander was not just a conqueror, but a legitimate heir to Persian kings. Yet, even in the midst of splendor, Alexander reserved his hearty barley cakes for dawn rides into the desert. As Alexander pushed east through harsh deserts of Carmania and across the Hindu Kush, supplies dwindled. Caravans laden with grain creaked behind his columns, but heat, bandits, and rough trails slowed their progress. Here, survival meant creativity. Scouts hunted gazelle, wild sheep, and ibex, meats dried in the sun, sliced paper-thin, and packed with rice. In river valleys, soldiers mastered freshwater fishing. Catfish and carp sizzled on flat stones, brushed with olive oil if available, or animal fat if not. They boiled cactus fruit and palm dates into sweet porridge. Roasted locusts, a reminder of biblical plagues, provided crunchy protein. Travelers boiled lentils and chickpeas, sprigged with coriander seeds when they could find them, to make thick soups called fac in local dialects. Alexander himself reputedly fasted intermittently, respecting Zoroastrian priests' customs, yet he ensured that no man under his command starved. Engineers constructed makeshift mills to grind barley and rice, while camp followers foraged wild asparagus, fennel, and capers from cliff faces. In those lean weeks, the taste of water mixed with ash from the fires became a constant memory. Each banquet in later months tasted like victory itself. Alexander's easternmost reach took him across the Gedrosian desert, bloody and unforgiving, and into the Indus Valley. Here, Indian spices forever changed his palate. He discovered curried vegetables, root crops and gourds cooked in ghee with turmeric, cardamom, and chili. He tasted kanji-style rice porridges, thickened with boiling milk, sweetened with jaggery, unrefined sugar, and dotted with raisins. He accepted gifts of pulao, saffron-scented rice with pistachios, and roast duck at Bactrian courts. He sipped hot spiced tea, an early predecessor to masala chai, steeped with cinnamon, ginger, and black peppercorns. These flavors became diplomatic currency. He sent Persian-style flatbreads and Indian-spiced condiments back to Pella, ensuring that his homeland mingled Mediterranean and Eastern tastes. Yet even as he embraced curry's heat, he never abandoned the barley cake, his morning anchor in a sea of new aromas. Alexander's men fought and feasted, but how did they recover? Ancient healers prescribed Oxymel, wine vinegar mixed with honey, as a restorative tonic after a day's march. They drank posca, diluted sour wine, to disinfect wounds and soothe stomachs. Alexander himself credited his endurance partly to daily doses of diluted wine mixed with crushed garlic and wild herbs, an antidote to fatigue. Physicians in his entourage carried vials of theriac, a mythical elixir containing dozens of roots, resins, and spices thought to ward off venom and infection. After every major victory, Alexander staged banquet rituals. He passed speeches, toasted the gods, Zeus, Apollo, and local deities, and shared plates of roast boar or young goat carved by his personal servants. He ceremonially presented portions of the first harvest to his generals. Barley pancakes stacked high, dripping with honey and topped with pomegranate seeds. These feasts sealed camaraderie. They allowed his men to swap war stories, forge bonds, and prepare. For tomorrow's dawn would bring another battle, another day of maza and meat. Alexander died in 323 BC in Babylon, possibly of fever or poison, leaving behind an empire too vast to hold. His diet, a fusion of Macedonian staples, Persian delicacies, and Indian spices, mirrored his vision of cultural unity. Today, chefs reconstruct his menus: barley porridge with goat's cheese, spiced lamb kebabs, saffron rice, and honey-drizzled baklava. We raise a glass of modern retsina or Malabar spiced tea. And remember, every conquest begins and ends at the table. So, next time you bite into a flatbread or stir honey into your yogurt, think of Alexander, marching across empires fueled by humble grains and exotic feasts. His appetite for adventure lives on, one delicious chapter at a time.